it's Mena, and this is my third attempt of making this video. So today in this video I'm going to talk about the 10 pets that we've had in our lives. So, I made this video before, but it was too long, so I couldn't load it, so I'm redoing this video. I'm warning, this is maybe a two-part video because I'm going to be telling a little bit of stories throughout this entire video. So I'm going to get started. So I'm just talking about pets I've had in my life and what I liked about them and how I enjoyed them and stuff like that and what I did with them. So, and when we got them and what happened to them after them and why they're no longer in my life. So I'm going to get started. So, started warning I may be in tears throughout half this video. And by the way, again, this will also be a two-part video. So I'm going to get started. So number one on my list had to be Mr. Knucklehead. Now Mr. Knucklehead was this big black Newfoundland we had when I was a little kid. We got him after we found him, I think, when we were on a hiking trail. And this was, I think, a couple weeks after we lost our dog, John. I'm not too sure. So, by the way, John, don't ask me to talk about John because I don't really remember him very much because I was really little when we had him. And I think he was a black Labrador Retriever. Mr. Knucklehead was an Akita, Newfoundland. So we took him to the place that he lived at, but his owners didn't want him, and also my mom didn't like the environment that he lived in, so we took him to our home, and we gave him a pretty good life. I loved Mr. Knucklehead. One funny thing was, we gave him the name Mr. Knucklehead after we found out he would take all our socks. It was so funny. He'd take all our socks, and then he'd try socks away. It was so funny. Yeah, it was kind of a weird name my mom came up with for the dog. He was such a sweet doggy, though. One of my favorite things was whenever you were in the hot tub, I have a hot tub at my house, and he would lick the water off your face. And he'd give you a dog bath. I loved when he did that. It was so funny. And we had Mr. Knucklehead for a really long time. I remember this one time he was experiencing these weird things with his stomach, and he was acting really weird, and we had to take him to the vet, and it turned out his stomach turned, and we had to turn his stomach over, and then we had to get him staples, and he actually lived for another, that happened to him when I was in 7th grade. 8th grade, freshman year. And he had another extra 4 years to live, which is really good. I think he lived for an extra 5 years, which is really good for a lifespan. And then when he was, I think, 15, he was going through this phase where he was having arthritis and his back legs, he'd growl at my dog, he'd growl at my English setter, and he just wasn't getting any better, and then finally, when I was 17, we had to put him to sleep. It was really hard. I loved him so much. He was such a sweet dog. I used to ride on him and pretend he was a horse. I know I mentioned that before, but it doesn't hurt to mention it again. Number 2 on my list would have to be Rex. Rex was an English setter that we had. We got Rex from a breeder. Sorry, that was my phone. And he was a puppy when we got him. He was so sweet. We really liked Rex. I remember he was so soft, and I loved to pet him. So what Rex was, he was a white dog with gray spots, and he was all hairy and stuff, and he was super soft. So a lot of people confused him and thought he was a Dalmatian, but he was actually an English setter. So he was really hairy and soft. He was so sweet. But what was sad was he was so skinny, you could feel his ribs on the side. It was so sad, and his eyes were all clouded and stuff. He could not see anything. One time, my mom had let him off leash. He was blind and stuff. My mom had let him off leash, and he didn't come back to us, and we were freaking out. We didn't know where he was, and then it turned out one of my neighbors found him in their backyard, and then brought him back to our house, and we were so scared. I remember this one time all the dogs got out, and we were really freaking out. being out and scared, and especially about wrecks and stuff because we were worried he might have gotten hit by a car, but my neighbor had found them all and brought him back to our house. He was so sweet and soft. But I felt bad when we get mad at him because he was blind. Like, he'd sometimes, like, lay in front of the door and we couldn't open the door because he'd be laying in front of it, and then we feel bad for getting mad at him and stuff. Like, he'd run into the tables, he'd run into trees. He just couldn't see anything. It was really sad. And then in December, this was the same year we had to put my Akita Newfoundland down. We had to put him to sleep at the house. It was really sad. The same thing was for my Akita Newfoundland as well. It was really hard for all of us. He was such a sweet dog. Oops, number 3 on my list would have to be Sam. Now, Sam was also an English setter. Actually, fun fact, Sam belonged to my, Sam was my stepdad's dog. She was such a sweet doggy. She was just as soft as Rex. She was so comfortable, so sweet. I remember she always would go hunting with my stepdad a lot, and he took such good care of her. And then when I was in 7th grade, we had to put her to sleep too. She was so sweet. I remember she was like, so what Sam was, she was kind of like a blonde, she was a white, really soft, white, hairy dog with kind of blonde spots on her. She was so sweet. Number 4 on my list would have to be Lola. Lola was a hamster I had when I was little. I really loved Lola. Well, she was so sweet. I remember she was like a dwarf hamster. She had like she was like light brown, and then she had like a dark brown sash on her thingy on her back, line on her back. She was so sweet, and she was like the sweetest little hamster we ever had. When we had an extra room in our house, so for those who don't know, I have like a 4-bedroom house. My house actually used to be 5 bedrooms, but we took out 1 room. She was so sweet. She loved carrots and apples, and I took pretty good care of her. One time I accidentally forgot to feed her. I cleaned out her cage with my mom's help. One time I accidentally forgot to feed her, and then I had to like put like all her food together. And then then finally, one day, it was in like February, I had her from my birthday, which was October 12th, until February. She passed away in her potty of a heart attack. It was so sad and hard for me. Number 6 on my list would have to be Abdul. Now, Abdul was this brownish-green cat with black tiger stripes on his stripes, and he had white on his face and white on his paws. He was a sweet kitty. Sorry, I thought I heard my name being called. Anyway, he was a really sweet kitty cat. We had him since before I was born. My mom saved him from a shelter, and I liked to pet him a lot, but it always made me want to cry every time I pet him because you could feel his spine. He was always an outdoor cat because when my stepdad lived with us, he didn't like having the cats in the house. So that was one rule he had when I was little, was we weren't allowed to have cats in the house. So yeah, I really liked him. He was so sweet. We had him until I was in 7th grade. One day, one of my neighbor's dogs got out, and the dog saw Abdul, went up, attacked him, and threw him right into the creek. And we were all crying when we saw him because we had Abdul since before I was born. Number 6 on my list would have to be Checkers. Now, Checkers was a cat we had when I was little as well. We found him when we were walking home from downtown, and I live pretty close to downtown. And we picked him up, took him home, and he was a pretty nice kitty cat. We all really liked him. But the only problem we had was that he would come into our rooms and suck on our fingers. It was really weird. Yeah, we had put, when we found him, we had put signs all over the place, up for him, all over the place. And then nobody claimed him, so we just took care of him. He was a sweet kitty cat. I liked to pet him, and I loved how it was pretty annoying how he'd suck on our fingers sometimes, but we really liked him. And then when I was a sophomore in high school, he disappeared and he never came back. We had put signs up all over the place, and we went all over the neighborhood looking for him, and everyone in my neighborhood knew who he was because he was very popular. Like, he'd go into all my neighbors' yards and stuff. But then we had given up finding him because we assumed he ran off to pass away somewhere. Number 8 on my list would have to be Pearl. Now, a lot of you guys know, if you watch my videos, you know that I had a dog named Pearl. Pearl was one of my Boston Terriers. We got Pearl when I was 12 years old. My mom got her as a gift from my stepdad for her birthday, the year after my grandpa passed away, and she immediately fell in love with Pearl. She is so sweet. I loved Pearl. She was awesome. Whenever I knelt down, she'd lick my face, and whenever we wore lotion on us, she'd lick the lotion off. It was really weird. And then another thing I loved about Pearl was when she was a puppy, she used to jump up, and we had a window in our door, in our laundry room door. She used to jump up in the window, and just thought my mom and I assumed she'd want to order something. It was so funny. And she'd always get excited when my mom would come home from work, or if I'd come home from volunteering at the doggy place. I loved how she'd sit in my lap and my best friend's lap. My best friend loved her so much too. And when she was a puppy, we used to grab her paws and she'd stretch. We loved so many things about Pearl, especially when she'd annoy us all camping, being when she barked. Pearl was so awesome. She was the best doggy ever. I'm on number 8. I'm on number 7, sorry. Anyway, yeah, Pearl was the best doggy ever. She was so happy. And then as she got older, she was having hip pains and stuff like that. And then suddenly this year in December, she was acting a little weird. Like she was going blind. She couldn't see my mom. And she couldn't hear her either. And we took her to the vet, and she was fine after that. And then she was still acting weird, and then we finally had to take her to the vet. My mom called saying we had to say Pearl had to go. We went to the vet, and last time I saw her, she had a tube in her mouth, and she looked like she was about to go to sleep, and we all had to say goodbye to her. It was just super hard. We all loved her so much. She was such a sweet dog, and we all held her paw, and we all had to say goodbye to Pearl. We all loved her so much. She was super sweet. You were the best doggy ever, Pearl. We'll never forget you. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video here because it's getting pretty long. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in part 2. Bye.